Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince.
And I'm Brandon.
And today we are going to talk about a question that somebody had on Facebook. Our question for today is from Jeff Smith. And hi Jeff Smith. Thanks for asking this question. Jeff Smith wants to know how we feel about actors' personal lives and how that affects our perceptions and our appreciation of films they're in. Directors and actors, if they do things that are considered kind of uncouth and like you know there's a general disdain, that kind of thing, or if somebody does something you just don't agree with in their personal life, but it doesn't really necessarily have anything to do whatsoever with a performance or with a job, does it mess up the piece? And I want to start with Brandon. What do you think, Brandon?
This is kind of there's a twofold question here, because I would say absolutely it does, if that transgression made by the famous person is something you disagree with in your own personal life. I'll give you.
Well, I mean, that's what we're talking about, yeah.
Well, exactly. Like, but for me, that might mean something different for me than it does for you.
Oh, sure, absolutely, yeah.
So, and same for Vince over here. So I give the example of a very famous meltdown by Mel Brooks that for a long time just had me totally opposed. Or not Mel Brooks.
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson, thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, okay. I was going to say, why are you throwing Mel Brooks under the bus? What has he ever done that was remotely controversial outside of his films?
I just continued to make faces at the camera. I was like,
because you know, he's very satirical, so he might have said some things in movies that offended people, but in like a funny sort of way. But what has he ever done outside of his movies? That was great, Mel Brooks.
Mel Gibson, thank you. Wow.
You know, one of my favorite movies
if Mel Brooks hates that group of people, there's something wrong.
Yeah, well, I think he does, though.
I gotta tell you, man, one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite farces of all time is Mel Brooks' The Passion of the Christ. Really enjoyed that film.
I would go watch that.
It was a little gory for my taste, but it was the kind of, you know, only a flesh wound kind of humor, you know? Like,
that really affected my opinion of him. The same goes for Tom Cruise. When Tom Cruise got on top of that couch and started dancing around about how much he was in love with Katie Holmes, that really just kind of, I was like, I kind of felt bad for liking some of his earlier stuff. But then there comes a point where they can redeem themselves, and I felt like his performance in Tropic Thunder, as kind of minute as it was, like a little screen time, but as much as he portrayed that guy in that movie, kind of really brought him back into focus.
Okay, let's focus on that. That's very interesting, because that has nothing to do with like what it was that he did that bothered you from before. So like
he redeemed himself.
So like, yeah, but
through a performance.
Does it make sense that would be the thing that would redeem him? What do you think, Vince?
You know, I think that an actor having a little bit of bravery and being something a little atypical or something a little different than what they're used to, because Tom Cruise is used to being the pretty boy. He's used to being the leading man, and so he does this movie where he's this overweight bald guy who, but if you really deconstruct it, it's essentially the same character. He's still this alpha male who believes in himself a little bit more than he ought to, and I mean,
break dance,
and he can break dance, and he becomes interesting because we look at his imperfections, or we look at him as imperfect. Thereby, we suddenly sympathize with this character a little bit more and like the actor a little bit more because he's a little braver. That being said, I still don't much care for Tom Cruise because I don't really like his attitude. I thought he was used well in Tropic Thunder, but generally speaking, I don't like that alpha male type of guy. I think it's kind of strange. I think it's kind of I'm not going to say irrelevant in this culture. I'm just going to say that I find it unpalatable, because then we can even have symbols of strength that are like Jason Statham, who I'm not saying he's a great actor, but he's a symbol. I'm not saying he's a bad actor, but he's a symbol of strength that's more stoic. So we have these
stoic.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wonder if he is able to emote or if he's just stoic. I'm not sure. But we have these symbols of manhood that don't have to be as abrasive as somebody like Tom Cruise. Now, I think Tom Cruise really showed his stripes by jumping up and down in the Oprah show, because that's what it's called.
Isn't it the Oprah Winfrey Show?
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's called the Oprah Show. Right. Most people just call it Oprah. I was just being silly. But So, jumping up and down on Oprah acting a little bit foolishly, a lot of people found that unpalatable because they thought, well, this guy's crazy, or he's compensating, and I don't want to like him. And of course, there's also his personal beliefs that become kind of an issue when you're talking about Tom Cruise.
That's
Scientology
true.
and all. But, you know, whatever you believe, whatever. But, you know, some people tend to get a little bit upset about a certain belief structure, and then that influences their opinion. Do I really care? No, because I never liked Tom Cruise to begin with. So,
but there are other people. Like, this is just my example.
Oh no,
per
that's
se,
fair. Go
and
ahead.
he falls into these three people: Mel Gibson, Tom Cruise, and Charlie Sheen. All fall into kind of the same category for me, and only one of them has really shown themselves to redeem, in my eyes, kind of redeem themselves to a likable standing.
Okay, but explain something to me. What is it about suddenly giving a performance that you enjoyed that redeems the person personally?
That's an interesting question, because
how does that make
goes,
any kind of sense?
But it goes hand in hand with some of the things that I've seen them go through. He had a falling out with his marriage that fell apart. You know, he went through some personal hex, if you will, and
you can say hells. It's okay.
Okay. He
has reviewed Hellboy, I'm pretty sure.
He went through some personal hells, and
Kick Butt was a pretty good show.
He did some interviews, and it's not only the performance. Now,
personal hell is different than hell. Yes, that's all I'm saying.
If for say it was a performance that drowned him out, and you're just like, oh, I can't respect him because that performance was so bad, then maybe a performance can alone bring him back. But there were some personal things in his life that got aired that I felt like, you know, he'd gone through the ringer enough, and then he had this performance that was just so great that I kind of wanted to like him again. So I looked at the bigger picture, and I was like, I think I can like this guy again.
Can we say that it's, if I'm getting from you what I think I'm getting from you, that it's not so much that he's redeemed morally in your eyes, or even that he's redeemed as saying he's an interesting person or whatever.
So you can stomach him on screen more?
Yeah, is that you're saying is that now you will allow yourself to enjoy what his work.
More along those lines, because there's still things that I would have deep problems with, without getting into specifics, like you mentioned, like, you know, in his personal life, and specifically Tom Cruise, there are things that many would find questionable about his choice of religion, or, you know, how he handled the situation with his ex-wife and kid, and all that type of thing. So,
art cannot redeem you necessarily, because you'd have to do a lifestyle change to redeem somebody.
True.
Provided they do something wrong. I'm just speaking hypothetically about whoever.
Right.
So,
but at least in the eyes of the screen, I can stomach them and understand their craft and their art.
Yeah, I'd like to bring in an entirely different perspective to this.
Absolutely.
Because I've been sitting here really thinking about this and trying to decide where I thought I came down on it. Because like, I have thought about this before, and I think a lot of the reason that I feel somewhat detached from this whole notion, really, personally, is that I don't tend to follow any news about actors' personal lives whatsoever. Mm-hmm. So I fall into the camp that tends to, obviously, because I'm not an idiot, that I tend to fall into the camp that, like, gets that these are real, fallible human beings, but I always enjoy them as a part of a larger piece.
Yeah.
And therefore, And I've been sitting here kind of not sure if I wanted to make this big of a kind of bold blanket statement, but I think it really is how I feel about it. I think the answer for this for this particular question for me is a resounding "it doesn't matter."
Yeah,
I actually think that's where I am on this. Your take on this was totally confounding to me.
Really, I'm a little surprised.
Totally confounding. It probably
has to do with the fact that with all the news that I do look up on a daily basis, I see a lot of this, whether I'm searching for it or not. If it's a big news headline, I'm usually clicking on it just to see what it's about, just to make sure that I'm kind of informed, so I have a knowledge of a wide range of topics.
Yeah, but even when I know about certain things, I can't bring myself when I'm enjoying a film to care. I think it's completely separate to me. An actor and like a person playing a role is essentially as I said, a part of a greater whole. They're essentially a prop for a piece. I don't mean that they're not human when they're doing, you know what I mean, but they're a piece of this greater whole. And so
Johnny Depp is an alien.
Very rarely, if ever, do I find myself really thinking about the actor that is playing a part, unless it's somebody that I'm already a huge fan of, and then in that case, I'm not even thinking about them personally, I'm just thinking of, I liked their craft and they're doing it again. So I'm not saying that when I watch a Jim Carrey movie, I'm not like I totally lose Jim Carrey in a role. Very rarely have I ever had that experience, but I'm not thinking about Jim Carrey's politics. I'm not thinking about Jim Carrey's personal lifestyle. I just, it doesn't make any difference to me. So, the big example I want to go to is Orson Scott Card.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Orson Scott Card, well, but see, I'd never heard that until recently, and I've not even ever heard Notorious Jerk.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just paraphrasing.
I think
I've just heard that he's really mean from different people.
But the thing is, recently he's been very blackballed because of his stance on homosexuality.
Oh.
And a lot of people were boycotting Ender's Game. And he had because of that. I
guess I forgot about
that.
And
Orson Scott Card, yeah, the whole he's a jerk thing I've never heard, but maybe that's true. I don't know. Maybe you're thinking of Harlan Ellison, but
no, I've heard that about Orson.
Oh, you've heard that about Roy. Okay, that's
but
cool.
People have said that about this guy Vince before. This guy that I know, total jerk.
But
Doom's Vince is all right.
But he was supposed to do a run on Superman. I don't remember if it was Action or if it was Superman, and the backlash of the comic book community was so bad that DC pulled him. They either pulled him or he decided to leave, and he wrote. I
would have liked to have seen the Orson. I'm sorry. I really liked Orson Scott Card's run on Ultimate Iron Man. So knowing that, because I didn't know that made me a little sad, though.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Orson Scott Card didn't as far as I know, he didn't come out and start being all Westboro Baptist Church against gay people. Mm-hmm. He was just but I guess he's just candid enough in what he thinks and what he believes that he has gone on record to say that he has issues with gay marriage and whatever, and people got really up in arms about that. And I found myself thinking, is it a problem that even if I don't agree with someone's politics, I still enjoy their work? There was a bit of a peer pressure thing where I felt like I was supposed to not want to see his film and not like his books anymore just because he didn't line up the way I do on things, and because he was a homophobe, and so I mean, this is kind of the thing that I don't usually bring up on the channel, you know what I mean? But because we're talking about, I don't know how to not bring this up. What I'm saying is, it didn't affect my enjoyment of the film Ender's Game, and it didn't affect how I felt about that book, which I had read years before.
Right.
Should it? It just.
Well, here's the thing. This comes back to kind of what I was saying again with regards to your own personal belief structure. This is another way to take that. If you don't believe, lots of people will believe just hand over fist, if you will, that if it doesn't go with their personal belief, then they should be against it. Some people don't care about that. If it's a little bit different than your opinion,
well, I'm
you're
also
still okay
so
with it.
apolitical.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
That kind of thing very often just doesn't even affect me. But then I understand why it does other people, so I'm not even saying what I think other people ought to do. Other people can do anything they want to. I understand why. I understand why some people felt like they couldn't support it because that bothered them.
Right.
At the same time, it did sort of kind of bug me, and I'm worried that I'm kind of pushing the line too much on getting political on my channel. But
I would say you're not.
There is a part of me that's a little bit bugged that even if you were vehemently against someone's opinion, I mean this idea that because the majority of people are vehemently against that and don't agree with that, and I don't necessarily agree with that either, but that because he's a public figure, he can't he can't express that.
Now, see, that's
like I just
the
I
thing
don't.
is that
He wasn't being vulgar or like I don't think or anything like that. So is it so? I don't know. What do you think, Vince? I mean, like do you have a responsibility as a public figure to if your opinions are like controversial, that like I don't know, it's not he's not rallying for like chainsawing puppies or anything. So you see what I'm saying? Like his opinion is just a lot more conservative than a lot of people's, and so there's this huge giant backlash, and it made me uncomfortable because I really liked Ender's Game.
But it's okay for you to have liked Ender's Game, because that's on you. That's not on. If they don't want to like it, that's their personal belief. If you do,
there's a difference between saying that a person's personal beliefs are making me not want to support their art piece. That's different than saying this is bad because this person has this belief,
you're absolutely right.
Even saying that this piece itself supports that belief.
Well,
because those are very different things.
We did a video a long time ago asking the question, can you enjoy a piece even if you don't agree with its message or its politics? And you and I both came down on it of, you absolutely can. Good storytelling is good storytelling.
Right.
And as long as it's not like, if it's not like super preachy and not like trying to force you to agree with it. Sometimes
persuasive. That's how it's a good story.
Yeah. Sometimes I will see things where I'm like, well, I don't really actually buy into what I think it's trying to say about humanity or society or life, but it made me care about these characters, and so it's a good piece. You know what I'm saying?
Two things that are very, I don't want to say politically aligned, but two things that the filmmakers obviously have some kind of agreement upon, like the Laramie Project, about a tragedy. Not a bad movie, not a bad play. Red State, I think, is a terrible movie. I think it's poor storytelling, and I like things about it. Gosh, I'm a John Goodman fan. I was happy to see him working. But you know what? You can agree with something's politics and still hate something that has those politics.
So you think you can go the other way with this, too?
Yeah. I don't like Red State. Do I agree with him? Sure. Do I like that movie? No!
Yeah, that doesn't automatically make it good. Yeah.
Now, that being said, on this Orson Scott Card thing...
well, that was what... You basically just summed up my entire review of Superman 4. Where it's like just because your overall message is one that a lot of people would agree with, wouldn't it be nice if we could find a way to get rid of all of nuclear arms? It doesn't make the way that was dealt with effective.
Yeah.
Although I did have actually some fundamental issues with even the message of that film, but anyway.
I think that people's
that wasn't the thing. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I think that people's politics and beliefs can be so much more complicated than what we're making it out to be. We usually make it out to be like you're either a red or you're a blue, or you're a white hat or you're a black hat.
And isn't it important to note too that you can't trust the media on everything, so you don't know everything. Mm-hmm. Just because you're told that a certain actor or director has done, thinks a certain way, or even that they have done certain things, you don't know all sides of a story. I guess my feeling on it, Vince, is it's not any of my business.
Yeah, this
none of what you were talking about with Tom Cruise is any of my business.
No, it's not. But it gets out there,
right? But I guess for me, it's sort of like knowing too much about a movie before I see it. I'd like to just not know any of that. I like to just keep away from it as much as I can. But then I've also had experiences. This is kind of the other side of this, though, because like for the most part, I'm still thinking that if I go to a movie and I don't like an actor, if they give an actor personally, and they give a great performance, that I would still really appreciate the performance. But I'll say this, though. I have met a couple of actors in person. I'm thinking of one in particular at a Star Trek convention where and I won't name any names or even say the episode, but there was a lady that I met that had done a role in Star Trek, and in real life she was really ditzy and a total airhead, and it actually hurt the performance for me because I saw too much of it in that performance and I hadn't noticed it before. Isn't that weird? So that's an experience that I've had, but not usually. You know, I've mentioned this before. I had again, I'm not going to name any names. I've actually said this before. People might know about this, but I want to be consistent. I didn't mention the last one, so I won't mention this one. But there was a time that I met another Star Trek actor, and I had not a great experience with him. But when I'm watching the show, I don't think about that. I lose him completely in the performance, and it doesn't affect it. It doesn't matter to me. So yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out my own personal psychology on this.
I think for me, it doesn't matter depending on who it is. Like, for example, I've always heard that Alec Baldwin is a big jerk. And you know what? Don't care. Alec Baldwin, I like his role in 30 Rock. I like him in The Shadow. I like him in a lot of things. Alec Baldwin's a decent actor.
Is there not?
However, if Dan Aykroyd turned out to be a horrible person, that would crush me.
Well, your favorites. I mean, the thing is, I think some of it, too, is you spend a lot of time with an actor just in watching their work, and you get kind of a mental picture of them. It's sort of like worshiping a deity. You know, after a while, you think you know them. You've got a mental picture. And if you met them in real life and they weren't like that, it would bother you. And I've had that experience before. But like, you know, if it turned out, and I know this isn't true, but if it turned out that like Patrick Stewart was a crazy psychopath, that would really hurt my feelings, right? Because I really like him. But then would it make it all that much harder for me to appreciate his work? I'm not sure. That's an interesting point. Vince, there's a piece of this that we're missing, and that is sometimes these huge negative aspects of these people are necessary for the performances they give.
Yeah, you know, I was just thinking that because, I mean, who knows what inspired the performance they were able to give, especially for an actor, because the words that are in their mouth are not generated by them, but the
way they deliver it.
The delivery is. So you could have somebody who needs some kind of boiling hate underneath that performance, and if that comes from somewhere negative, that doesn't necessarily mean that the character that they've portrayed or that the portrayal is poor. It just means that that person has an irredeemable aspect to them. So it doesn't hurt the art. In fact, it helps the art. But if I were to look into their background, would I want to support that movie or whatever it is that they did? I can't say that I truly know.
Are you completely capable as an actor of, and I mean, I just don't know, are most really good actors capable of digging into certain like really deep emotions without just like being that way in real life? For instance, we have seen actors who are able to like act really horrible on screen, but they're the nicest people on earth. But then also, I guess the biggest trait I'm thinking of is arrogance. Most of the actors that are fantastic at playing these like really pompous, arrogant people that you still kind of like are to some degree that way in real life. I would imagine that Robert Downey Jr. has a certain degree of personal arrogance to him. I don't know. But then again, sometimes there's a hard line to why it's hard to tell the difference between confidence and arrogance sometimes. Like I've met John Delancey. He is that
exactly
way.
The person I was going to bring
Really?
up. Yeah.
John Delancey, good for you. John Delancey is arrogant in real life, but is it always an act or not? I can never tell. That's the thing, is that I wonder if he doesn't do this on purpose, like, because there does also seem to be a lot of real genuineness to that guy too. It seems like maybe some of it's an act.
Selling his
you
product,
just don't know. Would you just have to know him personally to know? And that's why ultimately, Brandon, I'm coming back to you.
Yes.
I just feel like you don't know the person.
You don't know the person, but
really
let me ask you this.
Why does it matter what his personal opinions are?
Let me ask you this. It's not necessarily personal opinions, but the things that they may do.
Right.
They get out there. Let me ask you this. If an actor is really good at what they do and really great on their performances, and they do something really bad in life, let's say, versus an actor who's terrible at what they do, and they do something really bad at life, is the actor, and maybe they did the same thing, but in different instances. Is the actor that's really good, are you more likely to accept the thing they did in their personal life than the actor that's really bad? Would you then say, well, the actor's really bad and he did that really bad thing, I really don't like him anyway? But if the actor that's really super good, you're just more likely to pass over that bad thing that they did.
I don't think that's even remotely true. I think that really, or I don't know, good and bad. I guess I'm going to say this more for just like really popular, but I mean like actors that everybody knows, they're very A-list, they're really high profile, tend to get more scrutiny, so it would bother people a lot more when they did terrible things. I don't think people would pass it over. I think it's the kind of thing where the most successful people have the farthest to fall.
Not necessarily pass it over, but you're more
I guess I don't know what point you're making
You're
right
more
now.
willing to accept that it happened. Let's say Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. was an alcoholic for a long time, and he got blacklisted. And people were against him for a long time, but then he finally started to get work, and he did really great work.
But again,
so
he was blacklisted by he was blacklisted by the people who were giving him work.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
yes, but it caused a polarizing opinion because it was so out there.
Sure.
But he started to get work again. He started to put out really good work, and he started to turn his life around. People were more willing to forgive him.
But that's a redemption story.
Yeah. Right, but that's what I'm saying, is that this is how the redemption's happening. Like, a good performance.
What does this have to do with good actors versus bad actors? I don't understand that point.
I think an actor who's not as good couldn't make the same redemption, even if they cleaned up their act.
Right,
and
but
if they redeemed themselves,
they're probably not going to get a lot of work anyway. Like,
you know, A-listers often, I mean, it depends on what they did, but
right.
a lot of people get second chances when they don't necessarily deserve it. Like,
right.
Well, you're right. That happens too.
That's true.
I mean, like Halle Berry got a big second chance, and I forget what she did. It was a DUI, and she hit something significant. I forget as to what it was, but whether it was a person's car or a person, I don't know. I didn't follow it that close. You know why? Because I don't care about the actor's personal life.
But that's a little different than public opinion, right? Like,
well, I mean, people will see that and be like, "Oh man, that sucks. I can't believe that happened," and then they'll
forget about it. Yeah.
They'll say, "Oh, I'm going to go see the next Halle Berry movie anyway."
But isn't this how we often treat like real people in our actual lives a lot of the time too, though? Like, unless we're the kind of person that holds a grudge.
I feel like we'll forgive somebody that is signisignificant to us.
Yeah, right.
A lot of us will be like, "There's that car that cuts me off every morning on the way to work. How dare they?"
But here's the thing.
You say people will forgive Halle Berry, but they wouldn't forgive, say, Lindsay Lohan. She's doing the same things.
That's the thing, though, is that if you look at these actors' lives, not only are we buying the product that they make, but people buy the product that's made about their lives.
Yeah.
So Lindsay Lohan is kind of this public piece of entertainment. I don't personally find it entertaining. I don't like it. I don't follow it because I don't care. But people love to see train wrecks.
People also see her on the whole as a bad role model, whereas with the other example you just gave, that was an isolated incident in an otherwise generally...
Yeah. They want to see Lindsay Lohan screw up. They don't want to see these other people screw up, so they forgive it and ignore
also,
the other people they glorify.
This is a little off topic because what we're talking about are people that somewhat become as famous as they are because they're screw-ups. That's the thing that happens in our society now. It's really unfortunate. We glorify that to a degree, and sometimes I don't think we even realize we're doing that. But I don't know, that's a thing. But like I don't know. With Halle Berry, I just feel like I have to say this. With Halle Berry, I don't dislike Halle Berry because of anything she did in her personal life. I just don't like most of the movies she's in.
That's funny, because I kind of like Halle Berry.
Oh, really? Wow. I don't know. I've never really liked her that much. But
that's
anyway.
the thing. Catwoman was a terrible movie, regardless of who was in it. And
no, but I'm not even saying I never liked her as Storm. Like, I never thought she was a good actress.
I think she was poorly cast as Storm, but she was good as Dorothy Dandridge. She was good in Monsters Ball.
Okay,
so she's been in things that are not comic book movies.
No, I know that. Yeah, okay.
She was
Swordfish
was James Bond.
Now, I will say this, and again, I guess I'm kind of.
Oh yeah, she was.
I hated her in that. Yeah, but I think, and this is again maybe slightly off topic, but one thing that will really skew my opinion sometimes of an actor or an actress is if I saw them in something and loathe them there, and then see them in something else and they give an okay performance, but it's harder for me to tell that it's okay because I hated them in that other thing. Like that can affect me sometimes.
Yeah,
you know, but I think
that's not the personal life though.
No, certainly not. But that's the thing that messes
name?
with me. Yeah,
the lady from Jennifer's Body and Transformers. She could be in a good movie.
Megan Fox.
Yeah, Megan
Well, we'll
Fox.
see with Ninja Turtles, yeah.
Like, Ninja Turtles could be great, but you might still have that thing in your mind, like, I just hate Megan Fox.
Although
Her
I
performances are just so bland.
I was one of 5 people that thought that Jennifer's Body was okay.
I didn't see it. I kind of wanted to, but I never got around to
I saw it and
And-
hated it.
And wish I hadn't said that on camera. It was written.
Jennifer's Body wasn't bad, but the movie was... Anyway.
Jennifer's Body was written, if memory serves, by one of the main Buffy writers, and I caught a lot of really neat dialogue in that movie, and then got to the end and saw that that's who wrote it, and was like, but the thing is, at that point, for some reason, I had been seeing a lot of really mediocre horror films in the theater, and so I had that to compare.
At this
like,
point, it's almost all that exists.
compared to everything else I'd been seeing, Vince,
to come out contemporarily.
It felt like a spark of something. Anyway, let's do some final thoughts on this. I'm having a little bit of a tough time with this one. Like,
Yeah.
My final thought is this, basically. Depending on your personal views of how you view a particular instance that maybe a celebrity has transgressed, that affects whether or not it's going to affect your view of them.
not to me.
But it does to me. That's my opinion. But yours is different, and I
I know, but
understand
I'm
that.
still. But I don't know. You're still a quagmire to me. I don't understand how that affects you. I don't understand how it affects a performance. Is what I'm saying.
It might
Like,
not affect a performance, but it affects my view of that person enough that I'm not willing
Yeah, so
to
it is
look at the
affect-
performance.
So it is. Yeah, right.
It,
But I
not,
mean,
it doesn't
like-
affect their performance. It affects my view
Okay,
of
but
their performance.
I know that, but can't you go into a movie and like?
I can't separate them.
But why not?
The actor is the person. Well, that actor may have killed somebody. Just saying. Maybe they got acquitted for murder.
Well, that's yeah.
And I'm just like, that guy got acquitted for murder. The evidence was there. He did it. I don't think he should be getting work.
But see, I've even got but let me ask you this question.
That may have been the
There's-
performance of the century, but I'm not going to want to like it.
There's a lot of non-OJ fans out there.
Well, but what I was going to...
A lot of people switch to
But I was
Cranberry.
going to mention that, but my thing is, would it affect their earlier work? Like I've gone back and watched
No,
movies...
it doesn't. That was something I meant to say.
Okay.
Like, not Need for Speed, the early Tom Cruise movie, Days of Thunder.
Oh.
Loved it. It affects, and this is something I made when I went and saw Tropic Thunder. This is the point that I made, is that the stuff pre-transgression is okay to like because it wasn't, the signs weren't there necessarily. The downfall came at the transgression.
You are a quagmire.
Yeah,
Because now
but
I'm
this,
surprised.
this is how it
I don't
affects me, though.
understand that.
But that's how it affects me. It was like there was a period of time where I'm like, I'm not okay with this.
Well, can I say something that might sound really mean on accident? Because I don't.
Well,
I just
go
don't,
ahead.
I just don't know how to get through this without saying this. It just sounds to me like like you have a hard time just going in and like and like getting sucked into a world. Like,
I can get sucked into the world, but this affects my even going to see certain films sometimes.
Because even with what okay, yeah, but that's a different thing entirely.
Yeah, that's a support issue.
That's an entirely different thing. We're not talking about just whether or not you'll support something. We're talking about whether or not when you see a movie, how like you know does. Are you able to appreciate a performance? I don't know, man. Like that's why a lot of the time I enjoy going to movies and not knowing who's in it first. If I can do that, I like doing that. You know what I mean? Because it ultimately shouldn't matter. You have to. I don't know, man. It's just like I like to try to look at something as a fully fledged artistic piece. All of these are pieces of a greater whole. And yeah, you're right. I mean, there are places, I guess, like I said earlier, where it is even hard for me to separate that out too. Like I said earlier, where like if I see a movie where somebody's in it and I didn't like an earlier performance from them, but I think the thing for me with that, Vince, is that it's like that person does whatever some kind of like mannerism or facial tick or something that they did in that earlier performance that reminds me of that performance, and then that takes me out of the movie.
See,
You see what I'm saying? I'm talking about being taken out of it. I feel like you go into a thing and you're already ready to hate it because of this person that you just don't personally like, but you don't actually know them.
No, I don't. But it's like I said, that comes back to the fact that if their performance is really good, that might redeem them. I go in there, thinking like, well, I didn't like this thing that they did, but then in the instance of Tom Cruise,
Right.
he redeemed himself for me at that point because it was a really,
Right.
really good performance. So I can see the performance. But I'm not necessarily, like, if I used to just like that actor, if I might go to see something that actor did just because that actor's in it, then that affects me going to see the movie. Then I'm just like, well, I'm not sure that, like...
Well, yeah, sure.
I might be thinking, well, this actor did that thing, but if it's a good enough performance, it can turn me around type of thing, is where I'm coming from.
I think where you're really coming from is personal distaste for an actor after a set event.
After a set event that I might disagree with.
And they're not necessarily redeemed in the case of a larger sense of redemption and right and wrong, but they're more, now you can appreciate them.
I can appreciate their acting abilities, if you will. And if I see a turnaround in their personal life, then I might be able to appreciate them as on the other side of it too. But it's harder for me to distinguish between the person and the actor. It just is, unless you have that ultimately polarizing
And see, for me,
experience.
I feel like I step outside of it far enough that that sometimes those crazy flaws are part of what makes people so interesting.
And that could be because, let's face it, the jumping on the couch probably helped Tom Cruise in his whole dancing thing in Tropic
Thunder. They say
Thunder.
no publicity is bad publicity, or whatever.
Right. Yeah, that's the saying.
But
it's hard for me to say, apparently.
But I guess more of what I'm saying, Brandon, is like if you have somebody that you just really adore, as I've always said, I kind of have this with Patrick Stewart. I've always wanted to meet Patrick Stewart, and I feel like that's a case where he seems like a really cool guy, and if I found out that he wasn't, that would kill me. But for a lot of actors, I just don't think about them.
This is what I'm saying. So, if you like the actor enough, you're more likely to gloss over anything they may have did. If you don't like the actor as much, you might be you just. For me, this is where I'm coming from. If you don't like the actor as much, you might think of the thing that they did as more hurtful to their overall image because they were already bad.
But what I'm trying to say though is that sometimes, as I said earlier, those flaws that stuff
that may make for good performance background, like they get that from that, and I can understand that. I can totally understand that, and that might make it okay. That may change my opinion because it was just so good. They brought it from that place that has the ability to change my opinion.
All right.
Well, anyway,
final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm good.
So, my final thought here is this: it's an actor could do something, or an actor, let's say an entertainer, whether it be a writer or an artist or an actor or whatever, could do something that might sway my opinion that I should not go support that. That's fine, but they'd have to do something pretty bad. They'd have to do something.
Egregious.
Holding a belief is a different thing because there's a lot of people in this crazy world that hold a belief. There are people in my family that I just go, man, I can't believe you believe that. What is wrong with you?
Well, when we're talking about really like reprehensible things, that gets a lot tougher because it's like, well, that's a bad role model, you know?
Yeah,
like,
right. Yeah. And I will say that if it's truly reprehensible, and there's no way that even a hypothetical situation could really support that. And I just mean hating somebody for something that doesn't hurt anyone else. Fair enough. That, if it's a theme that says, well, let's all get on board and hate a group of people. If that's the theme of the piece, that's not interesting to me. I'm not going to enjoy that, and I'll probably not go, partake of any other work by that particular person. But let's say this Orson Scott Card thing. Somebody who I have met, very conservative people out there who hold a belief. I'm not going to say similar to Orson Scott Card's because I don't really know what he said specifically, but I know people out there who don't believe in gay marriage or don't believe that it should happen. They believe that homosexuality is inherently a sin, but you know what? They have gay friends. Why? Because they don't think that being gay makes you evil. They think being gay is a mistake. So,
But they're not personally judging people close to them.
yeah, they're not sitting there going to your face, you shouldn't be this way. They said, well, you're going to be however you believe. You know what my beliefs are. And
Right.
you know what? I think you're a very nice person. I think you're friendly. I would trust you with my kids because you're a decent guy. I just think that what you're doing does not align with my belief structure, whatever that
You can
happens
have your
to be.
beliefs, but it's when you act upon those beliefs that things start to cross the line.
Yeah. So I don't necessarily have to get on a bandwagon and hate someone just because everybody else is hating them for that, because
Right.
I don't necessarily have the whole story. And furthermore, if somebody has a belief structure that I believe is right, that doesn't mean that what they're doing is great.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I know a guy who thinks that all Bryan Singer movies are art pieces because Bryan Singer is a person whose lifestyle he agrees with. And
That just doesn't make any sense.
and that's bizarre to me. Like, for example, Superman Returns was, for all intents and purposes, in my opinion, crap.
Yeah.
X-Men 1 and 2 were good movies, a wee bit slow, but very good movies. And Usual Suspects, heck of a movie. You know what? I can love a movie, I can be indifferent to a movie, I can like a movie, and I can hate a movie, all from a person whose perspective I agree with. And I feel the same way about somebody whose perspective I don't agree with. That's my final thought.
Yeah, I mean, when I see something and then I later find out, wow, I can't believe that's that person's politics. That's fascinating. It's just fascinating, and that's kind of where it stops.
Yeah, I'm like, really? That guy's kind of a jerk? Had no idea.
Yeah. But then the work is the work. It's exactly the same thing as how a piece of literature says a thing, and that is separate from the author. What I mean is, you shouldn't have to talk to the author to find out what the piece meant. The piece should stand on its own. And so you can read great work by people you would never want to spend time with, and and I think the same is true of all art. And I think that that's one of the things that makes art so interesting, and why I have such a passion for it, is because you look at those things and they take on a life of their own, and that's. And that's a wonderful thing that human beings have managed to figure out how to do.
That's true. Well, you can dislike the person but like the work. Absolutely, I can see that. It's just more of a, this has the possibility of swaying my opinion.
Well, anyway, everybody, thanks as always for watching GNN. Sure appreciate it.
Yep.
And we will see you again later on. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Vince.
And I'm Brandon.